just simply talks about how mobile development has evolved, changed over time. So I have an overview of what we'll be talking about, which is what mobile app development is, the methods that mobile app development uses. We have various methods like the native method, the issues that we have with those methods, and different types. We have web solutions that we'll be looking at, and so on and so forth. So let's get started immediately. Like for web development, what is mobile app development? Mobile app development simply implies creating an application that can be run on your mobile apps without the web and any other maybe desktop. Yes, can you hear me?
You're echoing. You're echoing. Can you just reduce the volume of the other device you use?
Okay, okay, okay.
I just mute that one.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So what I was saying is mobile development is creating applications that can run directly on mobile phones, as we all use mobile apps today in our various phones. And we're going to be looking at different methods. We're going to be looking at the native methods, the web view wrappers, and the native like methods. We'll explain in details as we go on. Okay, as native methods were like the first methods that we had to create mobile app and all of those things. And this applies to using the core languages of these platforms. For instance, for our mobile developments today, we have different platforms like the Android and then the iOS, or like the main ones in the market. And if you had to develop for each of these things, you had to write with your native languages, because when Apple came up and they came up with that app store, they said, okay, fine. If you wanted to create an app for our phones that can run, you need to write your language in Objective C. And glaringly, the iPhone was built with Objective C. And that's why Apple said, fine, if you needed to create any application that runs on our mobile that application, you need to write that language, that application with Objective C. And when Android came on, they said, fine, we have a platform too. And if you need to write any application for us, we're going to be needing you to write the application in Java. But things did not end there. We kept moving on. Apple came up with Swift. It's simply the same way, but Swift gives a nicer look and a nicer development processes. And also, Google didn't want to go down on the trend they wanted to keep up with, so they came up with Kotlin as well. So if you needed to write applications then on both platforms, you could either choose to write it with Objective C or Swift for iPhones, or if you need to write for Android, you need to write with Java or Kotlin. And now this caused issues and all of this, lots of things that happened. What are those issues? We had Android teams and iOS teams if we needed to build applications. These were the issues that we saw for a company that is growing, and we wanted to have cross-platform applications. We need to get two separate teams that will work on our projects. And now that's so hectic because damn, you need to be money in the bank, and definitely no wrestler that need a lot of money to employ two teams at the same time. So it, evolution came on and all of these things. So the next thing that came up was the web view method. Because of these issues, we had to now think about developers. Okay, how can we solve this issue? I said, fine. What can we do is that we can create a web view method. This web view, we had methods like Cordova, Ionic, and progressive web applications that came into play. What does web view mean? It simply means creating an application that ships a web browser into our phone that then reads our particular URL and displays our application. So we didn't need to write native applications. We need to use the language that are available to us: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, name them. If jQuery, what's your library that you're using? Write it, then wrap them up using Cordova, and then you're able to ship a web browser into the phone, and then boom, that's an application. But the only thing is that, yes, this browser only views our URLs or whatever page that we've written. It can't view any other URL. That's the difference here. But we're actually shipping into our phone a web browser. So Cordova was the first one that dealt with this issue, but we usually have this performance issue. They were not really wonderful. They're not really great because of performance issue. They're not fast tapping into the native application. Then Ionic came on. Ionic was able to do a better thing with animations, cool stuff, and all of those things. And then we have progressive web apps that tended to make things a lot better, that we could just write an application that sits on our browser, and then we add it to our homepage, and we're able to view these things like mobile apps, and you don't really know that yes, I'm actually viewing a web page, but it's an application on your phone right now. That's what's happening with progressive web applications. And with all of those things that came to play, now we have moved further into the native like methods. Now the native like methods are a great place to start with because they're able to make things a lot better. This time around, it made development crazy. It made development more efficient. It made the development faster and easier. Because it was able to compile our codes no matter what. Previously, we were writing HTML and CSS, but we were still shipping those mobile web browsers into our phones. But here, no matter what language you write, you're writing with React or you're writing with any language, if it's still JavaScript, what this native like method does, it compiles our written language into the native app. So if you're building for Android and you're writing your JavaScript and you want it to end up on Android, the end product is that you're going to get Java or Kotlin because your codes are going to be recompiled down to those native applications, which makes it a great deal, keeps tapping into the native features and everything seems smooth. Now, this has solved two problems. It solved performance issue and it's also solved that cost of money. We didn't need to employ two teams now to get our products done in different languages and all of those things. Simply writing with either React Native, which is one of the popular ones right now. I currently rep that particular one. So if you write with React Native, you're going to be getting native components that are able to run efficiently on our mobile devices. Now, Xamarin was actually the first one that Microsoft created that one. It did a great job for a couple of years before React came on. And as you all know, Google never wants to play down. They never want to sit down anywhere. So they come up with Flutter, and Flutter has been playing well in this. And what we use, Flutter deals with more of widgets and all of those things. So same way with React Native deals with native components that runs on our devices. So with these methods, we are able to build mobile applications with a single team faster and efficiently as we move on. Now, in my conclusion and summary, we are able to see that mobile app development began with native methods where you needed to write with different languages for different platforms. And then we moved on to see the web version of it where we needed shipping native browser-like applications into our phones that viewed our web pages, which wasn't really efficient. But tools like this made it a great experience all over. And we're able to see the native-like methods, the Xamarin, the React Native, and the Flutter. These ones were able to really compile down our code of interest, no matter what code we're writing with, and compile it down to native codes that can run efficiently on our phones. So that's what I have. Do we have questions for me? Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Um, can I go on?
Sure.
Okay. Then where does React and Angular falls in?
Okay, React is of two types actually. Now, React is React.js on its own, but if you needed to write for the web, you'd be using another library called React DOM. Now, that's when you need to manipulate your DOM application on the web browser. But when we need to write for our phones, we have another library, which is React Native. Then we'll be importing React Native instead of React DOM. This one will run on our mobile devices. For Angular, I've not really seen Angular write any application that is that compiles down to native code instead of using it still uses Cordova or Ionic to build its project. Currently, I know that Angular runs very smoothly, integrating Ionic into its application, and things are smooth.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, if there are no questions, then I would like to ask, what was the first method of creating mobile applications?
Cordova.
Cordova. Oh, who's answering?
Oh,
So for native applications, for native mobile applications, you mentioned for Android, it was Java, and then later on Kotlin, and then you mentioned for iOS, it was C, Objective C rather, and then later on Swift, which
Okay,
improved the
okay.
graphics.
Right, that's true. Those were the native methods. Those were the very first methods of writing mobile applications. Okay, what was the issue that we encountered while writing applications with these native methods? Who can answer? Paul, please, I would like you to help us out with this one. Paul, my nigga.
what was the question?
The question is, what were the issues that we encountered while trying to use native methods to write mobile applications?
Performance is very low, like very slow performance.
I do not agree with you 100% because native applications were wonderfully and their performance were great. So what could have been the issue?
Reframe your question again. What was your question?
What were the issues encountered while using native methods to write mobile applications?
Okay. I don't know about that.
Okay, if I
I
may
said,
step in.
okay.
Can I? Okay. I think problem of should I say it was expensive to employ two teams, iOS team and Android team to develop apps, right?
Yeah. You
Okay.
need to be that man with the money in the bank, but
Okay.
but that's a lot of money, right? So
Yeah.
getting two teams. So that was an issue. If you needed to employ, you want to write the same application, you're employing two teams to do it. How hard is that? But that's why React Native came out of Facebook, because Facebook, they had a lot of applications that needed to run on mobile development, on mobile apps for different platforms. They had this, they had that. So they really spent a lot of money trying to create the native apps like React Native that we use today currently. And it has been a great process all along. And one
Thank
last
you,
question.
Benjamin. No, Benjamin,
Okay.
your question is enough. Let's hand over to Omojalo.
Okay, thank you.